Recording. All right. I'm really excited today because I am welcoming my friend Laura into, I'm going to start that again. I'm really excited because my friend Laura is joining me for BRC and Friends. And so, as is the tradition, I just invite my friends to introduce themselves. So Laura, tell us about you. Who are you? Where are you? Who is Laura?
I am Laura Mariko Cheifetz, and I am joining Bruce from Nashville, Tennessee, where I am serving as the assistant director. I'm Laura Mariko Cheifetz, and I'm joining Bruce from Nashville, Tennessee, where I am the assistant dean of admissions, vocation, and stewardship at Vanderbilt Divinity School. I am not originally from the Southeast, although I have lived in the Southeast for 10 years.
Oh my goodness.
In 3 different states. I'm trying to cover all the states. I'm originally I was born in California, but then grew up in Eastern Oregon and Western Washington. So I am on my long sojourn in the middle of the country right now. I have 2 dogs, 2 Shih Tzus who are rescues. This will be important, of course. And a spouse who is in the process of moving to join me from Atlanta. And we have 4 nieces and a nephew. Those are the most important things.
Those are the most important things. Yes, we'll talk about our pets later. So that's when, if pet talk is obnoxious to you, we'll give you a little cue and you can go ahead and turn it off. The funny thing is that, Laura, I've known each other. How long have we known each other now?
20 years.
Oh
minimum.
My goodness. Yeah, it's been a long time. And Laura's been all over the country. But this morning she did cuss me out because I told her that I was in shorts and it's 71 degrees, and it is not like that in Nashville right now.
It is not. It snowed yesterday.
We briefly dabbled in moving before I came to Palo Alto from San Francisco, going to the East Coast, and did a week somewhere. It was a beautiful time. And then after that one didn't go as we had wanted, I saw the winter and I was like, what was I thinking? It was this grand, like, let's take this adventure. And how dumb is that sometimes? It's 71 degrees.
Do you think you're too soft for winter? Look,
no,
I'm attacking you now.
Yeah, I just don't think it's like, why, so if I'm traveling, why would I stop in certain places? Like, depending on the season. Like, if some people are like, oh, you need seasons, I'm like, I don't actually. I'm good. It's 71 degrees and I'm in shorts. So.
I just think it makes one well-rounded and vigorous. No? Okay, it's okay.
It makes one vigorous.
I only lived in California for like a year? So I get it.
Oh, really? Were you that young when you moved?
Well, and then we moved out when I was 4 months old.
Oh, okay.
And then I lived when I was doing my internship in downtown San Francisco at the Mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, awesome. Well, cool. So we're going to talk about a few things. So I'm glad you all are joining us for this. I just love chatting with people that I think the world of. And in all seriousness, Laura is just a wonderful human being, and is funny and thoughtful and challenging to a lot of places and people, and does it in a way that I think is really helpful. I mean, nobody would ever say that as you challenge the world that you're doing it out of spite or you're being, I don't know, destructive to anything. It's all about kind of creating a better place in the world. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's talk about, there's a few things that we did chat about. So Day of Remembrance, for those that didn't follow the hashtag or don't know about it, tell us a little bit about the Day of Remembrance.
Day of Remembrance every year, February 19th, commemorates the day that FDR signed the Executive Order 9066 to send Japanese Americans and Japanese nationals to internment camps, even though, as was later found in the records, there was no evidence that anyone of Japanese descent was actually engaging in real large-scale espionage. So,
I am so shocked that we would do this as a country.
And that we would repurpose one of the assembly sites to use for current day detainees.
Yes, that is true. And which one would that be, Laura?
It's one of the ones in Texas.
One of the ones. Look at us. And some of these are in Presbyterian land. You probably know which site we're talking about. And they've tried to do some work, and I know that they have tried to do some, and there's always kind of a struggle with how much is enough and what's going on, and all those kind of things. But out here in California, we also know that one of the main shopping centers near our house, Tanforan, was a site. I mean, it's just bizarre. And I was like, is there a marker there?
I don't know, because I don't go.
I don't think there is. I think at one point we were trying to look for a marker. And yeah, so Tanforan, others, and you've done pilgrimages. I've never done one, but you've actually done pilgrimages. Where have you been to?
The only one I've been to is Topaz. It's not as developed as, for instance, the Manzanar site, but it's better developed than, for instance, Poston. So Topaz, Utah was where my grandmother and her family were, and we went as a group because one of my great uncles was interned when he was 6, and and he's still alive. So we went.
Wow! And how was that?
It was a lot.
I mean, yeah,
it was a lot. I was really glad that a lot of us were there. I think that made it brought out more nuance and.
Right. Was it all family, or was it part of? So you could weep and laugh and just be community together as you lived it. How was that for him? Is he at that point of able to talk about it more, or what's that like?
He said he once told me that it was a lot easier for him than it was for my grandmother because he was a little kid and he just got to run around and play, and people tried to make things pretty good for the kids. But my grandmother was a teenager. She was 14, so almost an adult back in the day.
Right.
And so he was really willing and able to talk about it. It was not the first time he'd been there.
No.
And he and his family have been really involved in making sure that we're preserving the history and telling the story and advocating against anything like this now. Although, of course.
What really could anything like this be happening now? I mean, that goes right. So why is this important? Because I assume that most of the folks who are listening to this know, at least at a surface level, and are kind of in the same place we are. But just for maybe if there's some new folks, I mean, why is this important now for us to keep teaching that history in school and kind of desanitizing it and just all of that? I mean, why is that important?
I think it's important in part because of the propaganda around it at the time. And I have heard this come out of people's mouths. People say, oh, this was for the protection of the Japanese Americans, or it was because, it was wartime and people had to make sacrifices. And oftentimes we do think of how we are operating right now in terms of war, like the war on drugs, which has led to some of our immigration policy the way it is. And to remember that we have a history in our country of white supremacy that shapes how we want to contain the threats. And some of the same strategies are used over and over again. So after 9/11, one of the first communities to speak out against the quote unquote voluntary registration and then involuntary detention of men from Muslim majority countries was Japanese Americans, because they disappeared for a few months and no one knew where they were because the government just locked them up somewhere. And now with the detention being used even for asylum seekers in a way that's very different than asylum seekers used to encounter our system, it's really important for us to speak out against holding people in one place against their will, disrupting the natural flow of life and dehumanizing them.
It just seems like I always reserve the right to be surprised and shocked, even though intellectually I'm not, because I think if we stop being surprised at a certain level, we've just accepted this as normal, which there's part of me that's like, it is like, this is what we do because we're awful people and we suck. And then there's just like, I cannot believe that human beings sit around a room and decide that this is the right thing to do. mean, it is so clearly fucked up, which now we have our explicitness.
There it is. You did it.
But I mean, it's enraging when you hear people repeating the same propaganda, the same language. You could almost do this like search and replace and just switch out groups. And yeah, I mean, even now with the new Muslim ban, that's the parts that are going into impact now, I mean, we're just kind of seeing this over and over and over again. Now, your work, how is that influencing the work that you do at the Divinity School?
One of the things that really frustrates me about the story of internment and incarceration is that very few religious groups stood up as it was happening and said this is wrong. There were a lot of individual leaders that did so. So at Topaz, for instance, there was a white pastor who moved to be near the camp so that he could be a pastor to folks there. And there was a white Catholic priest who lived in the camp for as long as he could until the administrators figured out what he was doing. And then he was like, yeah, I have a place lined up in town. He never did until they were like, dude, you need to. So there are individuals.
I didn't know that story.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I think that's so cool. And that the Quakers and Mennonites, like the peace churches, were pretty good about opposing it. And Quakers helped sponsor young Japanese Americans to go to university in other states. And that's how, for instance, one of my great aunts got out of camp. So otherwise, a lot of religious leaders did not do what I think is enough. And there are way too many parallels throughout history of religious leaders, especially as a significant group, standing up and saying something is wrong. And so I think maybe that has to do with how we form leaders and identify leaders. Right. And so if we at the Divinity School level are able to weave together all of the technical skills that people need along with the moral courage to stand up and say, this is clearly wrong and against the gospel, the better off we'll be. So I like being even just a small part of that journey. Yeah,
that's great. I mean, it boggles my mind. And I serve a church that is, they were war protesters, and I realize it's easy for me to talk about, but I preached a sermon the other day about competition of the gospel, and that our gospel is a better version, and if we don't get out there and actually live it and share it, then we're gonna lose this battle for the soul of other people. And I think there are others that I don't know if it's fear or if it's the context it doesn't let, or if it's a pastoral, how do you move people? But it does feel like the regular players, we're kind of in these spaces, and we need the next circle of people to be in this. Otherwise, it's not going to move. And
it's not going to move. And because we're interreligious, right? So we have different folks who are here, and being able to weave together traditions and have conversation across quote unquote divisions about how together we have some shared convictions is really important now, because I feel like I don't mean to be denigrating, but I think there absolutely there's too many people who are in leadership positions who believe that institutional preservation and their own jobs and unity are a higher value than people's lives. And I think...
So let's go ahead and list those people. No, I'm just kidding. Can you imagine being like, I think Laura and Bruce talked about you.
And it wasn't good.
It wasn't good. At 10:35, you should probably... I'm going to put that in the thing. Maybe Bruce and Laura mentioned you, and not in a good way.
Maybe we should just let people live in fear. And I love that. Look, I feel like I'm channeling your mom.
I'm not even gonna comment because she will listen to this.
I love your mom.
I know her. Everybody loves my mom, and I love my mother, and she has formed me. There are times though, it's different when you're watching somebody Like when you're watching my mom, right? This is kind of, I'm sure, with your parents, right? And then when you're their child, right? I mean,
people are like, your parents are so nice.
And I'm like,
I mean, yeah, nicer than me, but what's that say?
I know. I watch my mom sometimes. I'm like, oh, I'm glad you're my mom because I'm not sure I'd like you right now because she calls shit out like she's. And I'm not. I don't even think it's age. Like it's not like somebody like, oh, I'm at the age.
It's always been like that.
No,
it's
seriously.
Totally Filipino.
So, it's my grandmother was like that. It's like I'm like, oh my goodness.
I love it. Like people think that Japanese women are so like, and I'm like, have you met any of my Japanese American relatives? Cut, salt.
Exactly. It hurts even more. What are you talking about?
It's even worse.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break real quick because you're going to hear from one of our sponsors. Okay, and we're back. And again, I'm with Laura. So we just got done talking about the Day of Remembrance. I'll put some things in the recap. But let's talk about the primaries. By the time this gets posted, Nevada will be done. I don't know if else is good. We're recording this on a Friday. So I think it'll be Nevada. I don't know, so maybe just a couple more. I can't keep track. But what do you think? How are things going with the primaries? Let's just riff a little bit.
So stressful. So first of all, from the very beginning, it started way too early for me. I feel like I'm operating under constant duress, just living in this country. And I've been living in red states for 10 years. So that's also like very stressful just in terms of feeling safe and all of that anyway.
Right.
I was like, don't fall in love with anyone, Laura.
Yeah.
That's how your feelings get hurt.
Guard your heart.
Indeed. Hold it close. Treasure these things. And so I kind of tried to ignore it. But the thing is that I have always really, really loved Julian Castro. Like I love the Castro brothers. So then that happened. And even though I know Kamala Harris is like problematic in a lot of ways because I'm not ignorant of things. But I was also like,
I know this because I'm not dumb.
I pay attention and have many well-placed friends and colleagues. But on the other hand, it's like she's also really great on a lot of things. And I really appreciated the representation.
Yeah.
Cory Booker, we're all 1 degree of separation from him. So I was like, I have a soft spot for him. And I've always respected the work that Elizabeth Warren has done since she popped up on my radar.
Yeah.
So probably since, 2011 or something?
Yeah.
I've really respected her. But now we're getting down to the wire. These 2 majority white states get to decide things.
Is that part just...
It's frustrating.
So I was a big... I almost wore my Castro twins superhero shirt because it...
adorable.
But I met Julian twice. I'm sure he remembers me. It was during the selfie lines when he came to San Francisco.
I met him once. He does not remember me. Fine.
But it was like, I think you guys would get along really well. I'm like, I agree. We should just hang out. So that was and I've, I'm certainly a vote blue no matter who person, and there are degrees, right? I mean, I will hold my nose harder at others than some. I mean, if Bloomberg, what the hell?
Why?
What the hell?
Why are you even bringing it up?
I can't. It's not happening.
Are you jinxing it by speaking it? Thank you.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm jinxing it by speaking because, oh my gosh.
But okay. Well, what else kind of frustrates me is that Democrats have historically had the weakest ground game. We don't have a good bench for local or regional elections. We do not have pipelines the way that the right does.
Yeah. And they tried, I know. And some, I mean, I guess some of the House, you saw some of it, but at this level, it just doesn't feel like we do. Now, again, I live in California, so it's a little bit different. The ground game doesn't, like, I don't want to spend a lot of money here in many ways, right? I mean,
right.
Be in other places that it's actually going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
But I find it interesting, though, that there was a poll done maybe a couple weeks ago when Yang was still in, and it was the whole thing of, if your person doesn't get it, will you still vote blue? Is there no way you're voting for anybody else except your person? And then it depends. And so Yang's followers, was 45% said, I won't vote for anyone else.
God.
I was like, what the
irritating
hell?
What's that like to only be out for yourself, huh?
Yeah, well, and then Bernie was next. He was like at 17 or 18%. I will say, and folks know clearly that I'm a warm person. I just accepted an invitation to be on her interfaith council, and so I'm all in. She was the only one that had everybody, like, there was no registration. Everybody would vote for blue, no matter what, out of Earth, which makes sense to me, kind of from the general nature of her folks. But I just don't understand how, like, I mean, I do. Like, I'm not even counting Bloomberg, really. But, like, the rest of the group, that any of them are worse, like, you would rather have Trump back in than anyone else. I just don't get it. I mean, do you have friends that are like Bernie or bust? I mean, are there people in your world that are?
If they are, we're not talking enough for us to have talked about that.
Yeah.
I think most people are like, people are dying as a direct result of this presidency. We've already lost a lot of people in this world. Therefore, we need to end it. We will do whatever it takes once we have a nominee. And I actually think that's where a lot of my folks are. There's some folks who are campaigning, but a lot of folks are like, whoever it is, we're going to bust our asses to get folks to turn out to vote, especially these days.
I will say that my enthusiasm shifts depending on the person.
Yes, fair.
Obviously,
with Warren, I will follow her with my entire heart. The rest of it's okay. I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah, I'll be in. Again, it is varying degrees, and again, I'm in California, so it does make a little bit more. My work is a little different here. So I think it's just wild. So I love this time. I grew up in the state capital of California. My mom worked for the state legislature. I love all of this stuff, and it actually is a little bit of respite, which I'm not sure it's good because it's somewhat of a distraction from all the other stuff that's going on. But I love this stuff. Shocking. But for the as you're experiencing, kind of where you are in your context and kind of this constant barrage and struggle, how do you stay balanced? How do you not just lose it all the time? I mean, I said all the time. I mean, how do you keep your humanity? I mean, what are your disciplines? What do you do?
So there are different angles to keeping my humanity. I have been slipping quite a bit. I now believe in hell again, but not like hell like from the Bible, like Dante hell. Like there should be levels of suffering. So I feel like that has been, I need to get right with the Lord at some point. Until then, I'm going to believe in that and want people to go there. I also think because Georgia's legislature is pretty bad, and the only legislature I can think of that is genuinely worse, in a place that I would live, is Tennessee. Right, because there are some places I'm not going to. But Tennessee is really bad. Georgia has like a lot of like queer and people of color leadership in the legislature, which is great, like representation. Tennessee is not the same as Georgia. Insufficient Black people in the legislature.
Oh, really?
Compared. So there is that. But the nice thing is that in this area, because it's Nashville, it is sort of like the bubble of sanity if I want to be around people who think my humanity is full and should be allowed to flourish. And we think that for each other. And we also are trying to advocate for people who do not think we should be alive. We think they should get healthcare, right? So that's part of it that helps me flourish, is that other people are like, yes, it's terrible. We also love politics. Let's make good stuff happen, like good progressive work. Additionally, I really like to get together with people and just talk about whatever. And with people who have a decent power analysis, and we can be comfortable and drink cocktails and snuggle dogs and talk about how terrible things are.
We're just missing our cocktails right now.
I know,
so
that's
we could
all
do all
we
of
need.
that.
That's all we need. Right. So it's
a little
like,
early in California.
Yes. I have this like crew of people that we just help to keep each other feeling, you know, lively.
Yeah.
Also, the only reason I was able to watch the debate was because I cut myself off from NPR. Something happened and I can't even remember what it was. And I was way too stressed out. And so I cut off NPR for the most part. And I cut off, I stopped reading the newspaper for like a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, now I'm ready for the debate. And thank God I watched, because
oh my gosh,
best debate.
Oh yeah. My favorite quote was something about how it was basically saying Bernie won out of because of everything, but there was something about because Elizabeth Warren could chainsaw them to Bloomberg in the first 3 minutes.
It's true. It was like watching a massacre.
I mean, I'm not into all the violent imagery that came out of the debate, but oh my God, so funny. Just
it was glorious.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I could watch a smart woman who is totally confident. Yeah. Out of a guy who really kind of sucks. It was satisfying at like a level that has been frustrated with men and patriarchy and oligarchy for a long time.
Well, and I hope that showing itself shifted. It felt like, now granted, we all sit in somewhat of a Twitter bubble and all those things, but it really did feel like that was an energizing, kind of transformative image and practice that most of us have known she's been doing that.
Right.
But now, like, oh, and he was just so clearly unprepared. Like, so I was sitting there, actually, as I watched it in the recap, and I'm going, oh, I've done that, where I stepped into a space. I'm like, oh, I got this. I can just, and then just get the crap kicked out of you because you didn't prepare. Like, I know. It's like, I know what I've done. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Daisy.
Because somebody around him.
He's got a crack marketing team, but he does not have, like, advisors.
Oh, I know. I mean, come on, man. I mean, I ran for an office years ago in our denomination and had a group of people that were those for me. And after I wrote my opening statement and sent it out to them, and they had to look into them like, you got to rewrite this.
You were like, I have poured out my soul.
It was like, okay. And it was really, they're like, yeah, this is kind of like, nah, we got to redo this.
I wish that for all of us.
Yeah, you got, if you don't, and I will say, if you don't surround yourself with people who are willing to do that you trust, you're just doomed. I mean, that's hubris and all that stuff. Anyway, all right, so let's talk about a few other things. So tell us about your dog. Let's geek out about your dog. We were talking, folks who are listening, we were talking about the difference between living in a place where it's cold as hell, or cold as, what's the opposite of hell? The flip version of how cold it is, that my dogs would not pee. They would just be like, oh, hell no. I'm peeing right in front of you on the floor. I'm not going outside in the snow. And I'm not sure I blame them. If I had to go outside and be in the snow.
Do your business naked.
I'd be like,
no.
I'd be like, that's not happening. Get me one of those apartment fake grass things and I'll do that. But
oh yeah, and the dogs were just groomed, so you know.
Basically. But it wasn't cold in Atlanta, right? I mean,
it was cold. Yeah, it would get into the teens.
Oh.
And they are from Iowa. Like originally.
They're from Iowa.
They were rescued out of Iowa. And then they lived for the first however many years of their life in Chicago, right? They had to be walked in the snow and all of that.
I love my
a lot
dog.
of coats.
Yeah, but still, when I put a coat on and go outside, I'm still not. It's still cold. So
I mean, they're definitely like, we're too old for this.
Yeah.
You are going to turn around. We are not walking right now. I have peed and I have pooped and I am done.
Yeah, you can keep walking.
Put me in my crate. Yeah. Put me in my crate, lady. I'm done.
Tell me you have a stroller.
No, not yet, but it's going to happen.
I was going to say, yeah, it's like, please don't. Like,
well, my spouse has already said, because one of the dogs, like, she runs out of steam midway through a hike because she's getting kind of to that age. And Jess was like, we could get one of those backpacks so that we can carry her after she gets tired. We're right on the verge.
A doggie bjorn.
Yep.
Do it.
She would love it. She would just
and none of us who follow you would be surprised. In fact, I'm a little disappointed that it hasn't already happened.
Because of the booster seats in the car?
Just in general. It would be, as my kids tell me all the time now when we travel, we'll go somewhere like, on brand, Dad. On brand.
I feel like your kids keep you humble, man.
That's the newest thing. I'm like, you like it, don't you? Like, yeah, but when we go like a coffee shop to walk in, I'm like, on brand. I'm like, I know, that's why I picked it.
You're like, I'm aware.
I'm aware of this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, we have one of those dogs too. So I don't know if you remember. So we had 3 for a while. Then our one died. It was so awful because I was the only one home. Everybody was traveling. We got back from a trip and they all went to do church things and conferences.
Oh.
And I had to hold my sweet little fawn.
Oh, fawn, yeah.
It was awful. And then we have Vespa, who's my favorite dog. Because I can
Vespa's a character.
Because she doesn't like to walk either. We got her originally, she was a rescue, and the girl's like, oh, a jogging dog. I'm like, sure, I guess. I don't know. We didn't test her out. They went like a half a block, and she's like, okay, that's good. And she just sits down. So the first time, Abby goes, I hear this dunk, dunk, dunk on the door, and she's standing holding this 35-pound dog. And I mean, she probably at that point weighed half of Abby's weight.
Vespa's like, I know myself. These are my limitations. We're done.
Yep.
Respect. I respect.
Why are you picking me up and putting me on the couch? I don't understand what the hell's going on. And then we have Bernie, who's my wife's dad's dog. Who the only thing holding him back from going to assisted care with his wife was the dog. He actually at one point said that my wife can go, but I gotta have my dog. And so we agreed to take Bernie. And Bernie's he was not named after the Bernie, but we do call him a grumpy old man.
Is he?
And, oh
my gosh, that's the best.
I walk into the room, he's like, Arr.
Yes, you're welcome for feeding you and housing you.
And Robin, it's the first boy dog we've had in a long time. So Robin's always like, I do not like what is going on in my house right now. I'm like, I'm not peeing on stuff, honey.
Cause it's now balanced almost.
And now there's testosterone stuff going on. I'm like, you don't have much. What are you doing?
Seriously, dude.
But yeah, so he curls up to Robin on our bed, and I walk into the room. He's like, Robin has to kick him off the bed. And then I'm like, well, I think now what we're teaching him is I walk in the room, he gets kicked off the bed. So now he doesn't like me. Right.
This is mine. Ah, damn it, that guy's coming in.
Yeah. Robin's like, this is not cool, you guys. I look here first.
That's hilarious.
All right, so let's wrap up. So I'm asking all my friends who come on this to tell me what they're listening to, watching, reading. So what are you listening to these days? Podcasts, music?
So right now, because I am not home with all the music, I have a series of Pandora stations that I listen to, and I have the pink one on right now, which has a healthy dose of Shakira as well. And for podcasts, I always faithfully listen to Love It or Leave It.
I don't know that one.
It's political. John Lovett used to be on Obama's administration.
Oh,
And I think he's part of the Pod Save America team,
okay.
maybe, but he's hysterical. He's engaged to Ronan Farrow.
Oh.
And I always listen to Criminal, which is a great podcast out of North
I
Carolina.
had to stop listening to true crime. For a while, I was just like, I just, like, because I started listening to all these now, like, you know, all these cases were mostly, you know, people of color that nobody would investigate, so they're trying to bring them out, and I'm just like, oh my God, I can't.
No, see, she's the only one I listen to, because no.
I listened for a long time to My Favorite Murder as well.
Ooh.
With Karen Kilgariff, who was hysterical, and oh my God, she's so...
Okay, I might have to listen to that.
Yeah.
Also, I've been listening to the Top 5 podcast with Liz Lynn and Chris Peck from Peck.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I was like, show? Is there a TV show? Okay, yep. Okay.
Okay, what was that murder one?
My Favorite Murder.
Okay.
It's one of those really big. They do all the live shows, and
sweet.
And Karen Kilgariff is a writer, a comedy writer.
Nice.
Yeah, they're hysterical.
And when there are new episodes, I listen to My Dad Wrote a Porno, because sometimes you really have to laugh.
So second episode in a row that's been mentioned.
That's right.
We just drove to LA, and I'm like, I heard about this. Yeah, My Dad Wrote a Porno. I was like, we're not listening to that.
No.
Like, okay.
Because it's so ridiculous.
I'm gonna have to do that. What are you reading?
I am reading right now Children of Blood and Bone.
Oh yes.
It's really good, but it's a lot, so I'm taking it slowly. And I'm finishing up Dying of Whiteness.
Oh, God.
Is that what it's called? Yeah.
I don't know, but if it's not called that, it is now.
Yeah, it's written by a public health doctor guy at Vanderbilt. So.
And what are you watching? TV shows, movies, binging? What's going on in the
I'm currently binging Justified, because it's out on Hulu, and my uncle's been telling me I need to watch it forever because I lived in Kentucky, a different part of Kentucky. So I'm watching it.
I started it. Couldn't quite.
I know. It's because I'm in between. Like, I finished Grace and Frankie. I'm all caught up on all these other ones. But I'm also always watching, because, you know, we need delight in our lives, Blackish and Superstore.
Oh, sure. Oh, I love Superstore.
So good.
It is so good.
So good.
Superstore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely on our radar all the time. I mean, and when the tears sneak up on you, I'm like, oh God. I mean, the end of last season.
I know.
I thought we started watching, what is it? Zoe's Amazing Playlist.
I've heard that's good. I added it to my list, but I haven't started it.
It's good. I won't give you any, God, I wish you would have seen it.
And then someone was like, you got to watch Sex Education. So that's on my list too.
So I did a family podcast with my kids when that first came out, because I can't watch it with them.
No.
Like, our family is pretty good. Like, and they're like, we don't care. I'm like, yeah,
but you care.
I do. I can't. There's a whole thing on training how to give blowjobs in one of the episodes. I'm
don't
like,
want to think about that.
They're like, Dad, I think that's just you being uptight. I'm like, okay.
That's so cute.
That's fine. That's what it is. I'm gonna be in the other room.
God, that's so funny.
Because it's like a Law and Order in some ways, right? It starts with something that kind of, yeah. I hear it is also very good.
Okay, you hear? Okay.
I couldn't wait.
That's awesome.
And Robin's like, I'm not watching. Robin wanted to watch with me, so there you go. Any movies, Eddie?
Movies?
Yeah.
The last two I saw in the theater were Parasite and Harriet.
I still have not seen Parasite.
Dude.
I know. It feels like there's a lot of emotional investment.
That's definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's also really funny, because, you know, he's very funny.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to go see it now because Trump I guess yesterday.
So now you're going to go support it.
Now I'm going to out of protest.
Yeah.
Because he wants to bring back.
Gone with the Wind or something?
Gone with the Wind, yeah.
Man, that's such a bad movie.
Oh, I know.
Every once in a while, I'll catch part of it on TV, and I'm like, that's just horrifying.
It's awful. But it's also like you go watch back, you go look at all the movies. I mean, you're a decade younger than me, I think. But the movies that I grew up on, I go back and watch those. I'm like, these were awful.
Look, some of them were good, right? But it's kind of rare.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, these are awful.
Some things really don't age well.
Yeah. I remember watching, was it 16 Candles?
Oh, no. Ooh, that's rough.
But I haven't seen it in years, and it comes out on Netflix. I'm like, oh, both Rob and I are like, hey, we're going to watch it.
You forgot that one part, didn't you? You blocked it out?
Well, no, I knew that. So I prepped for Wrong Duck Dog. I prepped for all that. But all the date rape stuff, all the ableism, like all the other stuff that's in it, Abby in the middle that says, I feel like my soul is dying.
Man, that's why it's good just to not maybe introduce people to things you remember is good.
I just remember, I was like, this is awful. I've been keynotes at conferences like, I'm just going to, here's 5 pictures from this movie, and it's ableism, date rape, racism. I mean, it's like, it has them all.
Oh boy, that is awkward.
I kind of feel like my kids are looking like, we just lost a little respect.
How Indiana Jones was really fun, and now you look at it and you're like, wow, Oriental.
What the heck?
This dude is a colonial, racist, sexist. It's so bad.
I know. It breaks my heart.
So
Some of my favorite music.
But those were so fun. The third one was Sean Connery, so sweet. Oh man, it's hard to grow up and learn.
I don't want it. Well, some ways I'm like, this is why people don't do it.
Yeah.
That's why, right? It's just hard. It's because then we'd have, because it's almost like, once you know, it's kind of like the Matrix. Actually, my kids were just having this conference call a conversation about the Matrix. I'm like, this is exactly what this is about, right? Here's
once
your
you
choice.
See it, you cannot
Yep. Pick a pill.
Which pill?
Yep. All right. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
I'd love to have you back on. We should actually have you on and bring another person in too, and just riff with the 3 of us.
And you also got to interview Jessica. It'd be so fun.
Oh yeah. I wonder how the 2 of you do together. Well, we'll think about that. Yeah, I will.
It's fun.
That might.
I think we're very entertaining, but it's probably because we don't really live together much of the time.
That's true. I kind of feel like if we did it, there could be moments where you're like working stuff out.
That's a possibility, especially
you just thought what?
Places. I'm sorry. What? You're going where? I'm always like, where are you right now?
Is that a new TV back there? What the hell's going on?
Oh, hey, by the way, I ordered this for the dogs.
I'm going to do it in public so you can't get too mad because you're being recorded.
You're like, really?
Okay, texting. All right. Thank you. Have a great weekend at primaries, and we'll see you later. Okay, bye-bye.